Hello, this is Ralph K. Ginorio. Give me a few minutes and I'll suggest an idea worth considering. I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, so help me God. We are a nation of laws, not of men. This is the bedrock of the American Republic. Agree, disagree, politics, we all are supposed to be loyal to the Constitution and to the legal system that is based upon that Constitution. This is all based on the Roman Republic, which never trusted any one man with too much power, which divided power persistently and always counterbalanced every advantage with a disadvantage because they understood the Shakespearean dictum that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a regime of Obama the Lawless. We have a man in power who has repeatedly and consistently shown his contempt for constitutional restraint. 4 years ago today, he promised once again to fundamentally transform the United States. Well, let me tell you, our system is designed to prevent any one election from fundamentally transforming anything. The Constitution is supposed to preserve and protect and secure freedom in the United States, regardless of who wins an election. Any fundamental change is supposed to require repeated elections, not only for the presidency, but for the Senate and for the House. Repeated chances for the American people to determine, yes, are we going to make this fundamental shift, or no, are we going to remain who we have been? The point of the Constitution is to prevent radical change of any kind in order to preserve our freedom of action as private citizens. Yet, in the case of the bailouts at the beginning of his administration, when Obama came sweeping in to save the banking and auto industries, there were laws on the books that guaranteed pensioners and stockholders first call on any new profits the company would make. And those laws were completely subverted and overridden to allow Obama's feds and his cronies to determine who gets what when, to the benefit of people who contributed to the Obama campaign and to the labor unions. The stockholders who had a legal right to first call were put in the back seat while Obama finessed a deal through executive power. Number one. Number two, cap and trade. When the man was running for office, he talked about Americans having to give up this silly notion that we can keep our homes at 70 degrees year-round. That because of his policies as regards coal, oil, and other fossil fuels, prices for energy would necessarily skyrocket. We would have to give up our cushy lifestyle and instead adopt a more third-world approach which allows the weather to do what it wants and we just adapt. This is not the American system. It was a cap-and-trade system of environmental regulations that would strangle, and has and is strangling the American fossil fuels industry. Even during the 2 years when Obama had supermajorities in both houses of Congress, the Democrats in his own party refused to pass cap-and-trade because they knew it would be suicide for the workers and businesses in their own district, as well as for the living standard of the citizens who placed them in office. After the 2010 election, removed from the restraint of having to negotiate with his own party, Obama has, through executive fiat, through executive order, through the Department of Environmental Protection, FEMA, and a bunch of other federal agencies, produced a cap-and-trade system that we are now subject to solely through executive power. This is an unwarranted and unprecedented exertion of executive power against the spirit and letter of the Constitution. 3. Operation Fast and Furious, a scheme that has the U.S. government helping guns go into the hand of Mexican drug lords. Why? I can only assume it's part of a system of anti-gun rights people to make gun ownership seem reckless and dangerous. After all, if all sorts of lawlessness could be attributed to American private sector guns, then maybe more people would sign on to the UN Small Arms Treaty. Whatever the intent, though, it was a complete debacle. Agent Brian Terry was killed in an operation involving these guns. This is a disastrous policy. Yet, President Obama asserts executive privilege, protecting Eric Holder and the U.S. Justice Department from any outside scrutiny, saying, "We will conduct an investigation. That's like having the Fox conduct the henhouse investigation. It makes no sense. The whole point of outside prosecutors is to prevent the kind of cronyism that's going on in the Obama administration, where one hand washes the other. The Gulf oil spill. After the Gulf oil spill, there are huge federal monies that are going to rebuild the Gulf state region. But the law says that these monies are to be determined and spent at as local a level as possible. That means local and state governments have control over this money that comes from the feds through the emergency management. However, Obama's people have made it impossible for states and localities to actually have discretionary power over this money. Instead, what they've said is, we, the feds, will decide where the money goes. And wouldn't you know it, they go to swing state districts that will help Obama and Obama's cronies. In other words, Florida has gotten the lion's share, and the Gulf Coast that tends to vote Republican has gotten very little. This is against the law, as was the assertion of executive privilege, as was the disenfranchisement of the pensioners, as was putting cap and trade through by executive order. But the worst and most flagrant of these violations of the letter and spirit of the law come because of sequestration. Sequestration, remember, is the agreement made by Congress and the President in 2011 because they couldn't agree on how to reduce or at least hold our nation's debt in check. So instead they set up an Armageddon, a set of draconian cuts to defense that are going to cripple the American military and render us weak in the face of China, Russia, and Islamic terrorists, and also cripple and limit the welfare state. Well, anyone who's going to lose their job as a result of reductions in federal contracts because of sequestration has a legal right to know that their job is going to be phased out months before it happens. In fact, they should have already gotten a letter. Yet Obama's Labor Department and administration in general has put out memo after memo discouraging employers from following the law. In fact, the Obama people have said, if you don't tell your employees and sequestration happens, we, the Obama administration, will help defray your legal costs. We'll pay your legal bills for violating the legal rights of your workers to know that they're no longer going to be your workers because of a predictable government slowdown. Now, twice during the debates, Obama said, oh, sequestration, it'll never happen. Well, really, it's the law of the land until it's stopped. It is lawless to place your own interests above the interests of the American citizenry, whose sole protection against tyranny is the U.S. Constitution and the laws based thereon. Obama the Lawless has made Richard Nixon look like a piker.